compared to petrol. So when we say emissions, we're talking about three things: hydrocarbons, the sooty stuff that comes out of the exhaust; nitrous oxides, which are the brown stuff in smog in the cities; and of course, we're also talking about carbon monoxide, which is, the invisible poisonous gas that people used to kill themselves with when they would run their car in their garage and, commit suicide.
Okay.
So, these three things are the chemicals that we worry about in the emissions from cars, separate from greenhouse effects. And with alcohol, we're typically over 97% lower in all three categories. So alcohol burns very, very efficiently and, very cleanly compared to gasoline. In fact, it burns so clean that there is no soot in the engine whatsoever. Your oil never turns black on alcohol. So this has the effect of tripling the life of your engine, because that hydrocarbon soot in the engine is what wears out the rings and interior of the engine. We also see that alcohol burns cooler than gasoline, about 300 degrees cooler in the exhaust, and heat is one of the main enemies of engine life as well. And that's caused essentially by inefficiently burned fuel. Since alcohol burns more completely, there's less waste heat. So it's also, and I don't know how your measurement system is there, but in the United States, regular gasoline has an octane rating of 87, but alcohol has a rating of 105. So it's better than the best racing fuel you can buy, from petroleum sources. So, the octane rating, of course, is the resistance to the engine of pinging or pre-igniting, where the fuel, explodes before the spark plug goes off.
Yeah.
And that's, very damaging to the engine, and low-quality gas will cause that problem. So if we design engines or we convert engines to have high compression, similar to diesel engines, for instance, we can get up to 22% better mileage from alcohol than we can from petrol.
Okay, so that answers a couple of questions that I was going to ask you. Thank you for being psychic. So we get more mileage per litre or gallon from alcohol, and there is a higher performance yield from alcohol than gasoline. Is that yeah?
Yes, absolutely. You get a minimum of a 10% increase in horsepower, or if you have a high compression engine, it can be as much as a 40% increase in horsepower.
Okay, that's good news. Now you're talking about converting engines. How easy would it be for me to go out? I have an 04 Seat petrol engine 1.4. Doesn't go very fast, but it's reliable. So how easy is it for me to go out and get a conversion kit and install it, or have a mechanic install it, and then drive to Sandyford, I think it's in Dublin, where our one ethanol pump is. So I'll drive down to Dublin, which is 150 miles, 300 mile round trip, but I'll just do it once to see if I can do it. So how do I go about that?
So there's a couple of things I'd say. First of all, you can start using alcohol today without a conversion kit. You just probably won't be able to use straight alcohol until you have a conversion kit. But you can replace, typically, up to 50% of your fuel with alcohol if you have a fuel-injected engine, which pretty much is every engine since about 1989. So most people don't know this, and this is one of the biggest secrets that the oil companies don't want you to know.
Okay, hold on, Davis. Whoa, say it again.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? So you could go down to Dublin today.
Yes.
And you could go ahead and fill your tank halfway with gasoline, and then top it off with half alcohol, and your Fiat will run just great.
You're not kidding me.
No, you can't. You don't have to change a thing. Now, there's a couple things I do. Now, in an 04, I might not have to do this because it's fairly new. But gasoline is made up of all kinds of toxic waste, as we mentioned earlier. And a lot of it is gum and tar and varnish, which coats the inside of your gas tank. So when you first start using alcohol, just put in 1 gallon with your fill-up, and that will start washing off the crud on the inside of the tank. The next time you fill up, put in 2 gallons. The next time, 3 gallons, until you get up to 50-50 alcohol gasoline. By doing it slowly like that, you wash all the stuff out of your fuel system until it's clean, but without washing off big chunks of it at one time, which would plug your fuel filter. Now, once your system is clean, it stays clean forever on alcohol, as long as you have a higher percentage of alcohol in the tank. So now you're up to 50%, and you haven't had to do any kind of commitment to alcohol. No cost at all. Now, if you want to, but, once you start doing this, and you've had a taste of the good stuff, you don't really want to keep using any gasoline. So that's where conversion kits come in. So we have kits available that we send around the world that are an additional computer that plugs into your car and allows you to have an extended range of flexibility. Right now, your fuel injection computer is smart enough to go to 50%. But with the additional brains that we plug into your car, you're able to go all the way up to 100% and still run on gasoline if you have to. It'll adjust the whole range from alcohol to gasoline. Now, if you did this on the assembly line, it would generally cost less than $30 to do it, $30 US.
Okay.
But of course, after the fact, it costs, a few $100s, but to put on the conversion kit. But the conversion kit labor is typically only about an hour for a 4-cylinder car and maybe 2 hours for a 6 or 8-cylinder car, because you have to remove the intake manifold to get to the fuel injectors. But on a small car, generally you don't even need a mechanic. You can do it yourself in less than an hour.
Well, I did not know any of that.
Well, there's not a lot of incentive for people to be told about this. The auto companies don't like this idea. They want you to buy a new alcohol-powered vehicle in the United States. We sell flexible fuel vehicles here that are made at the factory, able to run on both alcohol and gas. But there's no encouragement for people to convert their current cars, because they'd last a long time and they wouldn't be buying a new car, which is, not what the car companies want. They want you to buy that new car. So there are other ways to convert to alcohol without buying a conversion kit, and we talk about several different ways you can do that in my book, Alcohol Can Be a Gas. There are different ways of tricking the car into thinking it's running on gasoline when it's really running on alcohol, and those are a little less expensive but take a little mechanical knowledge to be able to do the conversion. But we show you how to do it inexpensively if you are the kind of person who likes to get under the hood and work on your car.
Huh. Okay, I'm still reeling from the shock. You'll have to excuse me for a second. Now, the one pump in Ireland that I mentioned, I tried to get in contact with them earlier today, no luck. But anyway, I have the site open in front of me. They have bioethanol E85, bioethanol E5, and biodiesel B5. Okay, what's the difference?
Well, E85 is 85% alcohol, 15% petrol. So that's what we talk about you'd be running if you converted your engine completely. Or you could run roughly 60% of that and 40% of gasoline to get to that essentially half-half mixture of alcohol and gas. Now, E5 is gasoline with only 5% alcohol in it, which is actually good for reducing the emissions from gasoline, but doesn't really replace too much of your petrol, or otherwise known as gasoline here. The biodiesel is a little different. Biodiesel is for diesel engines, so it's not gasoline at all. And B5 biodiesel is made from vegetable oil, which is, again, a renewable fuel, which can replace diesel fuel. Although we can run diesels with a little more fuss in conversion on alcohol. As I mentioned earlier, has a very high octane reading, but a low cetane reading, which is the explodability index of diesel. So it resists explosion a little bit too long. And we do different tricks that I talk about in Alcohol Can Be a Gas. We show 6 different ways to convert diesels to alcohol there. And so both gasoline engines or petrol engines and diesel engines can run on alcohol, where biodiesel is only useful in replacing diesel fuel.
Wow. Okay. Again, earlier today, when I was doing a little research here, I checked out government incentives in Ireland. There was a couple of things I wanted to find out so I could bring them to you so that you could educate me. Was the acreage of arable land in Ireland? I couldn't pin that down. Was there any tax incentives within the Irish governmental structure? There is indeed. There's something like 13 or 14 companies around the country that produce bioethanol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yet there's only one pump. Seemingly it's two